I started off, so while I was at university, I had to learn to film cars that were moving. I didn't really want to go and stand just on the side of a road doing that. And there's this place called Rufford Ford. Rufford Ford Mill, it's quite amazing. And it's been there over 100 years. And it works, the way it works, it's a water mill. So the lake will fill up. They've got paddle wheels there. They release and the water goes through the paddle wheel across the road and it powers the mill. It hasn't been used since the 1950s. So the barriers still remain in place, you've got sluice gates there, but it fills up and it's never emptied. So because of that, it's always at maximum capacity, so any rain or water that comes into that lake over maximum capacity floods across the road. They never drain it, so therefore it's always got either a trickle or, in extreme cases, 3 feet of water, sometimes more. And cars will often go to drive through this and drown the car. So the driver will drive in, not have any idea how a combustion engine works, and they think they can just drive through it, and of course they then put it in the water, the car sucks up the water, and their engine hydrolocks. I've seen a few videos of it, I thought, well, I'm going to go down there and film. So I went down there to film, and there were 2 YouTubers down there, and I'd seen their channels, and I said, do you mind if I film? A lad called Tom Sunderland went, yeah, that's a free place, free country, come and film. So we're filming away, and I'd got a drone. Both Tom and this other chap, they were quite fascinated by the drone. So I've got this drone up, I got interference. Drone crashes into a tree, drone gets stuck in the tree. So next thing you know, I've got a fishing rod out, and I'm trying to fish a drone out of the tree. Finally pulled the thing down. Tom has one job. All he's got to do is catch the drone. He's a young lad. No, just watches it fall down. Couldn't catch it. Hiked the drone out and it's all good. And we continued to film there. So every weekend I'd go down there and I'd film. And the guy said, look, you should put this on YouTube. You should put it on YouTube and make a channel out of it. I'd got this channel called Midlife Crisis 101X. And I originally did it because during lockdown, I ended up by buying all sorts of ridiculous things that I never thought I would buy, eating hot sauce, doing all sorts of silly things I never thought I'd do. And I've never really grown up. Yeah, I just feel the same way now as when I had my BMX, except I just go out and have fun in the car. So we started filming there, and the locals initially were really nice to us. They were cool, they were fine, but the more we filmed, the busier it got. And at this point, people then started to come down because they then also wanted to put a video onto social media. And the drivers, they would watch our videos, but they would still come down and still attempt to drive through 2 foot of water with their cars. They wouldn't even slow down. They'd just drive into it. Sometimes we get some sports cars come through. So there is footage of a Lamborghini going through. There's footage of Porsches going through. The locals started to get a bit upset because it had now become a tourist attraction. There was always a tourist attraction, but it got quite out of control. There'd been a lot of complaints. The police came down. And for 1 month, every Sunday for 3 hours, the police would sit there with Operation Reacher and they would wait for motorists to come through. Now, as far as I know, they never caught anybody speeding. They did catch incorrect number plates. They caught someone for no seat belt, and they gave words of advice on people driving through the water on how they were doing it. But we continued to film this, and people every week would then watch what we put on. But it started to get like crazy busy, like really busy. Then one night, somebody decided to empty the lake. So they actually went down and they hand cranked the sluice gates that held all the water in the lake. They drained the lake. And for a good 2-3 weeks, there was nothing. There was no water, no nothing. It then started to come back slowly. The motorists, though, would still come by, but instead of slowing down, they then sped up and splashed. For years, in 2011, they built a viewing gallery to watch cars splash through. So it wasn't something that was new. It was just new because it was being filmed. So 2011, they put a viewing gallery there and people would bring their families and watch cars splash through. And quite often cars would try and splash the people either on the bridge or the viewing gallery. Now, that's an offence in the UK. It's a criminal offence to splash somebody with a puddle with your car. It's a bit of a grey area because people were waiting to be splashed and shouting and waving on the bridge to be splashed. But it got very busy and the locals got very upset with it. So there then became a campaign to close Rufford Ford and roll on a certain amount of time, and the Rufford Ford, the council closed the road. They cited that it was because of the videos that were being produced there, although there were no accidents. They said somebody would get hurt. The police were concerned that somebody would get hurt. They started to quote the fact that the videos were used. But we'd been in newspapers. The BBC had come and done reports on the cars getting stuck and us filming down there. And they did indeed eventually close the road off. So we've gone down there one day to film, and there's a police car, blue lights going, and the police officer's like, yeah, no, road's closed. And a week later, the temporary barriers went in, and they originally got it done for 18 months, and they said, no one can go through here for 18 months, and we're going to wait to see what happens. So the road was closed for 18 months. They then renewed it. The farm traffic used it a lot. Then a tractor, it flooded really badly, and the barriers got completely submerged. And a tractor driver decided that he was going to perhaps use the fact that you couldn't see the barriers, and he drove his farmer's tractor through in 4 foot of water, and it hooked up onto the bollards on these barriers, and the tractor then dragged these concrete barriers out of the Ford, dragged them up, didn't do the trailer much good. He then managed to break free of the bollards, drove on up the road, and the Ford was technically reopened. And within 12 hours, I think it was, a lady had driven her BMW into the deep water in the night and drowned her car. And normally if we were there watching, we'd pull the cars out. But of course the recovery had to come down, fish the car out, and so forth. They fished the car out, they then put the barriers back in place. Within a few weeks, somebody had come down at night and then driven into the concrete barriers. And of course, we got blamed for this. Oh, the YouTubers closed the road. Well, we didn't close the road, we just filmed it. We did enhance, by its popularity, the amount of footfall going to Rufford Ford. So they'd started to open up a pizza area there. There was an ice cream area that they'd opened up. They'd got more staff in at the cafe. Of course, when this closed, when they closed the road, all of that stopped. But they then campaigned. A little while later, there then became a change in local government, and they are now looking at reopening Rufford Ford. I wouldn't call it a claim to fame, but they did turn around, the locals turned around, and they're still campaigning to keep it closed, but they did turn around and say, the YouTubers closed a road. So as the videos took off, Tom was very young, so Tom was 15 when he first started filming there. His mum couldn't make it down there to pick him up one evening. So he called his mum and said, look, don't worry, the others are here and they'll look after me until you turn up. We used to do that and look after Tom, or make sure he was okay until his mum got there. At this point, Tom was then looking at leaving school and going on to do full-time education. But the channels became very successful. For myself, it also got monetized very quickly, which was quite strange. And sometimes we'd get recognized as well, which was also really strange. The first time that happened, just like, yeah, that's me. And it was very strange. And it's something that we weren't expecting, but we rapidly got a lot of followers on various channels. Someone put a complaint in about Tom's channel and they demonetized him for 30 days. And they said that you can't get monetized until you've done 30 days of uploads, and it was fine. He literally uploaded a video every day from Rufford Ford, and he'd left school at that point, so he just spent his entire time filming down there. And it just got more and more popular because the more videos went out, the more people were watching it. The more people watched it, the more people then come and visit. And people were starting to come and visit from all over the country. We only had a guy from Germany turn up in a van who slept in his van there in the car park for a week, so he could literally just watch the cars go through. But I felt bad for him because it wasn't busy with people until the weekend, and it was only for 3 hours on a Saturday, 3 hours on a Sunday. And none of us ever thought that it would get as popular as it did. We really didn't. And it did, it just blew up and got crazy, crazy popular. And yeah, this guy spent a week there just watching it, and it just got crazy. And it did get out of hand. The parking was crazy. The locals couldn't park their own cars. I mean, we shouldn't be parking on the road anyway, but it got to the point even trying to drive through because there was so much parking where people would just flock to it to then watch and see what was going on. And they'd see us filming, and of course they'd watch their videos, then they'd see us filming new videos.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Premier Financial Services, and they are the perfect partner in your journey to own your dream car because their Simple Lease is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You'll get all the benefits of a leasing structure like lower payments and better tax treatment, along with everything we love about a normal exotic car loan where you can trade in and out at any time, always know where you stand thanks to their amortization table, and accumulate equity for whenever you're finished and ready for the next car. And Premier is great because they're wholly owned and backed by First Financial Bank, which means they have more buying power than any other exotic car bank or collector car bank in the United States, and their customer service is unmatched. Also, rates are lower than they have been in a very, very long time, so it's never been a better time to reach out to Premier, talk to their representatives, learn what you can pre-qualify for, and let them help you own the car of your dreams with Premier Financial Services.